Very rarely in history do people get the opportunity to vote for true, real, profound change. I would venture to say this is an opportunity that's not even just once in a lifetime opportunity. This is the kind of opportunity that only comes once in many hundreds of years. And it's important, it's crucially important that every morning we wake up, we're cognizant of just how historic and how rare this opportunity is. Because folks, it's not going to come again.
I'm proud to support Donald Trump, an extraordinary businessman, the right leader for a time such as this. Now, one of the things that I have learned about Hillary Clinton is that one of her heroes, her mentors, was Saul Alinsky. And her senior thesis was about Saul Alinsky. This was someone that she greatly admired and that affected all of her philosophies subsequently. Now, interestingly enough, let me tell you something about Saul Alinsky. He wrote a book called Rules for Radicals. On the dedication page, it acknowledges Lucifer, the original radical who gained his own kingdom. Now think about that. This is a nation where our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, talks about certain inalienable rights that come from our Creator. This is a nation where our Pledge of Allegiance says we are one nation under God. This is a nation. This is a nation where every coin in our pocket and every bill in our wallet says, "In God we trust." So are we willing to elect someone as president who has as their role model somebody who acknowledges Lucifer? Think about that. And Thomas Jefferson said that we would reach this point because we the people would not be paying attention, and it would allow the government to grow, to expand, and to metastasize, and to try to rule us. But he said, before we turn into something else, we the people would recognize what was going on, what we were about to lose, and we would rise up and we would take control of our nation. And I say now is the time for us to rise up and take America.
So FBI Director Comey, under oath, swears before Congress that Hillary Clinton did not tell the truth. Hillary Clinton lied, not once, not twice, but more than 10 times. So when the Washington Post, known for its liberal leanings, gives Hillary Clinton 4 Pinocchios and PolitiFact rates it a pants-on-fire statement and factcheck.org gives it a false rating, you would think the woman would understand and recognize the error of her ways. George, I cannot tell a lie. Washington and Honest Abe Lincoln are spinning in their graves. So what does the liar-in-chief do now that she's been exposed? She doubles down on the lie and says in yet another interview, quote, as the FBI said, everything that I've said publicly has been consistent and truthful with what I've told them. And yesterday, the crescendo got so loud at the National Hispanic and Black Journalists Conference that she tripled down and said she may have short-circuited. Take a listen to this one.
Director Comey had said that my answers in my FBI interview were truthful. That's really the bottom line here. And I have said during the interview and in many other occasions over the past months that what I told the FBI, which he said was truthful, is consistent with what I have said publicly. So I may have short-circuited it, and for that I will try to clarify, because I think Chris Wallace and I were probably talking past each other.
Folks, this is a woman who does not know what the truth is. And if her brain short circuits, is she telling us that she needs work done? Or that the work done was no good? Or that the work done didn't work? And they want to call Donald Trump unstable? And this is far more serious. And I'll tell you why. Jim Comey swore that Hillary Clinton sent classified emails. Accordingly, she lied to us. He knew that she sent classified emails. So if the FBI knew that she sent classified emails, did they ask her whether she did? If they did, irrespective of her answer, they would have had to take her out in cuffs. If she said no, that would have been lying to the FBI. And if she said yes, that's admitting that she violated federal criminal statutes. If the FBI already knew she had sent classified information on her private server, and they did not ask her if she did, that means that they intentionally did not want to charge Hillary Clinton. Now, folks, Jim Comey was the man in charge who made the decision to prosecute Martha Stewart for lying to the FBI on a case that had nothing to do with national security. Hillary Clinton's case had everything to do with national security, and worse, everything to do with the future of this nation. And when Hillary Clinton says, "What I told the FBI, which he, Comey, said was truthful, is consistent with what I have said publicly," she is telling us that she repeated the lie that she told us about not sending classified emails when she spoke to the FBI. That means that she lied to the FBI. She is clearly stating that what she told the FBI is what she told us. She lied to us, as per Comey, and now she's telling us she told the FBI the same lie. Jim Comey's hands are now tied. He cannot do the dance anymore about how there was no intent, or that he's not sure what negligence means, or that it was only recklessness or carelessness, or that the statute isn't clear, or that no reasonable Comey, the prosecutor, who wasn't in that room in the interview, who didn't use the opportunity to size up a prospective defendant, who didn't use the opportunity to analyze her truthfulness and her body language, the man who didn't even speak to every one of the FBI agents in that room, who quickly made a determination that she did not have the intent, which was not even an element of the crime in the first place, is now caught between a rock and a hard place. Jim Comey, for all his truth-saying, has an obligation to his oath and the Constitution. He has an obligation to recognize what this woman has said, not once, not twice, but at least 10 times, and what he has said under oath. Jim, you're running with dogs, and you know better than I that when you lie with dogs, expect to get fleas.
Is that accurate? You were down in the polls the morning of the vote?
The morning of the vote was quite remarkable. There was an opinion poll issued by what was a reputable polling company showing the Remain side 10 points in the lead. And I genuinely think that what went on at the end of that campaign was a deliberate media and establishment attempt to say to voters, look, Brexit isn't going to win, so why bother to go out to vote for it? And what I was saying to Trump supporters last night is, whatever gets said in the next 73 days in this campaign, even if they tell you that McDonnell can't win, don't believe them, because what we saw was a deliberate attempt to fiddle the figures. Luckily, we ignored it and we beat them. I did suggest, though, that if I was an American citizen, I wouldn't vote for Hillary, because nothing is going to change if that woman wins. She represents that big corporate media club, that have had their own way over the last 20 or 30 years, that have led us into an endless series of wars and led us into a world where the rich get richer and the poor get...
If I was an American citizen, I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton if you paid me. In fact, I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton if she paid me. Folks, the message is clear. The parallels are there. There are millions of ordinary Americans who've been let down, who feel so many of their representatives are politically correct parts of that liberal media elite. They feel people aren't standing up for them, and they've actually, in many cases, given up on the whole electoral process.
Hillary campaign vows to destroy opposition website. Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton's campaign has sent out a fundraising email arguing that the website Breitbart News has, quote, no right to exist. That's the quote, no right to exist, and suggests that if elected, the website will be shut down entirely. Now, of course, we had the link up with Bannon and the Trump campaign a couple of days ago. Now Clinton, even if she wins the election, is saying that she will go on to destroy Breitbart. Now, of course, if they want to destroy Breitbart, they want to destroy the Drudge Report, they want to destroy the Daily Caller, they want to destroy Infowars.com. No right to exist. This is a quote from the email sent out by the Clinton campaign. Quote, we've had a conservative media in this country for a while. This was sent out by Christina Reynolds. I don't always like what they have to say, but I respect their role and their right to exist. Reynolds' acknowledgement that the regular conservative media has a right to exist, though, is used to contrast it with Breitbart, which apparently has no such right.
General Lynch, we are now about halfway through the members of this committee asking questions, and your refusal to answer questions regarding one of the most important investigations of someone who seeks to serve in the highest office in this land is an abdication of your responsibility. This is a very important issue of whether or not the Justice Department is going to uphold the rule of law in this country, and I hope that with the questions that will be forthcoming now, you will be more forthcoming with answers. Thank you. Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Lynch, who made the decision that no charges would be brought against Secretary Clinton?
Congressman, with respect to that decision, I had determined that I would accept the recommendation of the team.
So
I made that known.
Who ultimately made the decision?
I made that known, and then when the recommendation was given to me, I did accept that recommendation.
So did you ultimately make that decision, or did Director Comey?
Well, Director Comey was part of the team.
Who ultimately made the decision?
So the team consisted of prosecutors and agents. That did include Director Comey,
I want
but
to know
there
where
were
the buck
others.
stops. Who made the decision?
As I indicated before, I had previously decided that I would accept their recommendation when they made it to
So
me.
are you saying
Did
you made the
accept their
decision?
recommendation.
Are you saying you made the decision?
I had previously indicated I would accept their recommendation.
Okay, so on July
and I
1st, let's just run through that. On July 1st, you said, I'll accept the recommendations of the FBI. Mr. Comey didn't announce his decision until July 5th, and he said that he didn't talk to you beforehand. Now, I assume it's not unusual for the Attorney General to accept the recommendations of the FBI and the career prosecutors and the team, as you've so often cited. What is unusual is to make a big, bold public announcement that you're going to do it. It's one thing to do it. I assume it happens all the time. It's another thing to announce ahead of time you're going to do it. So here's what I'm having trouble with, and I guess a lot of people are having trouble with. If you commit and announce that you will abide by the FBI's decision before they even finish their investigation, then how can you also say ultimately it was your decision?
Well, Congressman, as I've indicated, I accepted their recommendation. I had indicated.
So are you, what I want to know is,
that,
was it not your
I
decision,
would
or was it
accept
your decision? Because it seems to me you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I'm the Attorney General and I decide, but yet I'm going to take their recommendations even before they make their recommendations.
I had indicated that I would be accepting their recommendation because I wanted to make it clear that any conversation that I might have had with the former president would have no impact on the team or the review
Ever do this
or the
before?
investigation.
You ever do this before?
I have not had occasion to do that before, but I felt it was important
So you've
in
never
this case.
announced before an investigation is done that whatever they come up with, maybe they're going to screw it up, who knows? You've never announced before that whatever they recommend, I'm going to follow. Never happened before.
It was important in this case to do so.
So this is the first time you've ever done that. Announced beforehand, I don't care what their recommendations are, by golly, I'm going to follow them.
I have complete faith in the judgment and the hard work of
I'm
the
not
team.
questioning whether you have faith in them. I think probably a lot of people have faith in the FBI in a lot of situations. I don't know that they agree with them here, but I think they have faith in a lot of times. What I'm questioning is why announce ahead of time when you've never done it before? Why announce ahead of time, I'm going to follow their recommendations, even though I don't know what they are, and still claim you're the ultimate decider?
Well, as I indicated, I felt it was important to express my role in the investigation, to clarify my role, because I was concerned that the conversation I had with the former president would make people think that there could be some influence.
So that
there.
was the trigger.
That, in my view, was something that needed to be clarified. I felt that people needed to understand
So
my role
you've never
in
done this before, but when you
and that they
have a
needed to have that,
conversation with the former
information.
president, the husband of the subject of an ongoing investigation, and you have that conversation before they've interviewed the subject and before they've reached their recommendations and finished their investigation, that's what triggered you to do this thing you've never done before, which is announce, I don't care what they recommend, I'm going to follow it.
My concern was that the conversation that I had with President Clinton would be seen by some as having an influence over that. I felt it was important to clarify
Just some, Joanna
my
Lynch,
role
a lot
in
of
this.
people.
And I felt it was important to clarify that even before I had landed in Phoenix, I had
Here's
made
what
that
I think.
decision.
Here's what I
and
see
felt it
happen.
was-
Here's what I think is, I think your actions made it worse. I really do. I think a lot of people already think that there are two systems, as many have talked about, one for we the people, a different one, entirely different one for the politically connected. Your former Secretary of State, your former Senator, your former First Lady, your nominee for President, your husband meets with you 5 days before a decision's announced. Different standard for those facts, and you proved it. You demonstrated that it's different by your actions because you said you've never done this before, so you not only you changed your internal practices, you changed the fact that you've never announced beforehand that you're going to follow recommendations before you even have the recommendations. Your actions contributed to this belief that the system is rigged, and that you made a bad situation worse by saying, I'm going to do whatever they recommend, even though I don't know what the recommendations are. I don't know anyone who would conduct themselves that way when they're the ultimate decider, but you said, I'm going to wait. I'm going to do whatever they said, and I'm not even going to wait to see what they're recommending. I'm going to follow it. You showed that this case was different, and the law is supposed to treat every single person the same. And your announcement, by definition, made this thing entirely different. And then, of course, what was ultimately decided made it entirely different as well. I yield back.
Does an individual need a security clearance to review or have access to classified material? Is it legal or illegal to share classified information with somebody who doesn't have a security clearance? Is it legal or illegal to provide access to somebody who doesn't have the requisite security clearance to view classified material? Is it legal or illegal to store, house, or retain classified information in a non-secure location?
Again, I would refer you to the statute. One could, in fact, have liability, again, depending upon the nature and facts and
Do you
circumstances.
have any examples of where it's legally acceptable to retain classified information in a non-secure location?
I don't have a hypothetical answer for that.
Is it legal or illegal to provide false testimony under oath?
There are a number of statutes that cover that, both at the federal and state level. There are a number of ways in which that could be found.
There's a difference between prosecuting something and whether it's legal or illegal. You know, these questions are pretty simple, and we got millions of people with security clearance. How are they supposed to go through the gyrations that you've laid out in order to make a simple determination?
Congressman, if we had a specific fact situation or fact pattern, that could be reviewed.
I'm just asking,
when it comes
is
to a
it
hypothetical situation, it would be unfair to come up with a blanket answer to someone without reviewing all the facts of their situation.
I'm asking if it's legal or illegal to share classified information with somebody who doesn't have a security clearance.
Again, I would refer you to the appropriate statutes, and I'd refer you to the facts of every situation. It would be unfair to give a blanket answer to every hypothetical.
Why aren't we telling all the federal employees and contractors who have access to classified information, those in our military, why aren't we telling them, you can't do this, it's against the law? Why can't you say that?
We give them guidance. Again, every agency does. We give them examples. We give them information as to how to make those decisions. We show them. And again, every information provides, every agency provides
why is
that,
the law not sufficient guidance? You believe, is there a flaw in the law? Or is there a suggestion on the law? I mean,
I don't have a comment on the state of the law. My answer is that in order...
Somebody asked me to consult an attorney, and you are the Attorney General. And I think you're sending a terrible message to the world, to those people who are trying to make some simple decisions. The lack of clarity that you give to this body, the lack of clarity on this issue is pretty stunning. These seem like simple issues.
I mean, the elements of a criminal offense are public, so there's no secret there. And for you to go through the elements and say, as Director Comey did, he said there was no specific intent. I'm out of time, but I suspect you have prosecuted reckless homicide cases, haven't you?
In the context of violent crime.
How about involuntary manslaughter?
For the department or personally?
No, just as a prosecutor. There's involuntary manslaughter, there's reckless homicide, there's felony DUI where you really didn't mean to hurt anybody. You really didn't, but you did. And this lack of specific intent is not a defense in any of those cases. So I think the public would like to know how you determined she did not have the intent to break the law and why you are applying a specific intent requirement here when you don't even do it in certain homicide cases.
Well, Congressman, as I've said, I think you've mentioned a number of state cases there. But as I've said, the reason why I am not going into the discussion I had and providing that particular level of information, although the FBI director did choose to do so, is that the information the team provides to me on this or any other case has to be given in a zone of confidentiality so that they can be clear and sure that there's never a political overtone to their decisions, nor will I apply one in accepting their decisions. That's why we have taken the unusual steps of providing greater information, as frustrating as that has been for a number of people to have additional information. That's why I took the unusual step of clarifying my role in this investigation.
Well, I'm out of time. The only thing I find frustrating is that even after this and Director Comey, people still believe that if you are famous, there's a different set of rules than if people don't know your name. And I think you're missing a wonderful opportunity to say with specificity which evidentiary element you found lacking. So Congress can go fix the statute if you think we need to, but right now, we have no idea whether or not a President Lynch could do exactly what Secretary Clinton did, or whether President Clinton could do exactly what Secretary Clinton did. And I think that lack of clarity is bad for the Republic, quite frankly. I would yield back.
I am more than willing to predict when the history of our day is written, the scandal you are watching unfold is going to be like the Teapot Dome scandal was in the 1920s, and maybe bigger. It's going to be bigger than Watergate. Nixon had to leave office, and he did a lot of bad things, but he wasn't raking in millions and millions of dollars through a phony charity. I'm not sure how much money was involved in the Teapot Dome, but I bet it couldn't have been too much more than the hundreds of millions of dollars the Clintons have been getting and turning the State Department into a pay-for-play operation.